Hi there, Vanessa Hahn here. Let's talk about something that plagues a lot of us, especially as we navigate midlife. That soul-crushing afternoon energy slump. You start your day with good intentions, maybe even a burst of energy, but then bam, you hit that wall. You're dragging and you can barely focus. And all you can think about is a nap or maybe another cup of coffee to keep you going. Sound painfully familiar? Now, what could be the real price that you're paying for constantly battling these energy slumps? It's really about the activities that you're missing out on because you simply don't have the energy. It's the reduced focus and productivity at work when you're trying to pursue your passions or get something important done. It's the feeling of being less present and engaged with your family and your friends. This lack of consistent energy can also create a subtle but maybe persistent worry that something deeper is going on with your health. Or maybe you're dreading, if this is the new norm for you, how are you going to get through the next 20 years? Here's a few facts that you should know. Fact number 1, every time you consume a significant amount of carbohydrates, especially those refined and processed ones, your blood sugar rises. In response, your body releases insulin. Insulin's primary job is to get that sugar stored away as fast as it can out of the blood and into the cells for energy. These cells include your muscles, fat tissue, and liver tissue. For years, your body might be very efficient at doing this, but after decades of consuming excessive amounts of carbohydrates and your pancreas trying overtime to produce enough insulin to store away that excess sugar in your bloodstream. Fact number 2 is that insulin levels are going to stay elevated. And over time, your cells actually become less responsive to the constant flood of insulin. They're actually trying to protect themselves. See, think about a fat cell that's full of sugar, like a sponge that has no more room for water. So in an effort to protect itself, it becomes less sensitive to receiving more sugar and actually starts releasing inflammatory cytokines into the bloodstream that trigger inflammation. In and of itself, this inflammation irritates the lining of your arteries, as does elevated insulin or hyperinsulinemia and hyperglycemia, which is too much sugar in your blood. This whole process is called insulin resistance. And long before your primary care provider tells you that there's something going on with your labs and your fasting blood sugar's a little bit on the borderline of high, your fasting insulin is likely elevated far beyond what it should be. And this is all in response to the excessive amounts of carbohydrates we've been told to consume based on the food guide pyramid. Now, an interesting point about the afternoon slump is actually related to your insulin doing its job. See, when you consume high amounts of carbohydrates, the insulin level rises quickly in response. So it tries to store all that sugar away. Once it does that efficiently, then it actually can cause the glucose level or the sugar level in your blood to get really low. And not only does this trigger a slump where you want to take a nap, but then it also triggers your body's response to triggering you to need to eat more. So that urge to nap is not you being lazy. It's direct response to insulin. Your body is doing exactly what you are telling it to do with what you're feeding it. And here's something else that's interesting to understand, and this helps us understand why a calorie is not a calorie, is that when you consume a calorie, primarily from proteins or healthy fats, the rise in your blood glucose is much slower and more gradual, leading to a gentler and more sustained release of insulin. Yes, your blood sugar will rise from proteins and a little bit from fats, but much less and much more gradually than it does when you consume high processed carbohydrates. So when you use this type of fuel to fuel your body, you are setting yourself up for more efficient energy and less slumps in the afternoon. The way your body processes fuel and the resulting energy levels and the cravings you can now see are not just about willpower. It's not that you're not strong enough or you're exhausted and you need to exercise more so you can be more hungry and more exhausted. They're deeply rooted in chemical signals triggered by the foods you eat. Consider adjusting your midday meal to include higher natural fats and higher proteins and fewer carbohydrates, and you might be surprised at what happens in the afternoon. In some upcoming videos, I'd like to teach you exactly how to choose that fuel for success, unlocking more consistent energy, better focus, and a reduced reliance on the energy-draining sugar spikes and then crashes. Stay tuned. Understanding this first step can help fuel your body and energize your afternoon. If you'd like some tips on how to start this process, go to hanhealth.org. That's HANHEALTH.org and pick up your free copy of Breaking Free from Sugar Addiction and Food Obsession. It's packed with tips that might help get you started. I'm Vanessa, and this is Wellness with an NP. I hope you found this helpful, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.